Cody from the Keepers of Nerdom. How you doing? Let's talk through Star Trek First Contact. Is it actually any good? This movie is, let's just get a synopsis first off. This movie is, they wanted to bring the Borg into the movies, right? Instead of just on TV. And so what we got was something pretty crazy, pretty epic, changed some things drastically as well. But it was fascinating. It was dark. It was gritty, especially for a Star Trek movie. And it's all about the Borg trying to attack Earth, but actually their real destination is the past to just, it's way easier to mess with humanity in the past when they have no real defenses against a species that far flung in the future, which ironically would change the Borg anyway over time just because of going back in the past. But that's a whole extra thing too. But let's go through like what is some of the highlights of this film, my thoughts on it. Let's go through it. As you can see, there are three main characters that are really focused on Picard, Data, and the Borg Queen, a very new entity that is introduced in this film. We start off in the film really into this idea of Picard wrestling with a nightmare about being assimilated, being Locutus, about this capturing, this torture of not having any control over your abilities, your decisions, your mind, and the horror that would be, and that feeling of pure pain and unable to stop what was happening as he's watching also as the Federation is attacked and assimilated in so many ships and people because of what he knows and the codes he knows and the ability that he has given the Borg. And then we very quickly this movie turns into, yes, the Borg are here, and we find out apparently Picard can still hear the Borg, and obviously Star Trek Picard tries to answer this, but it just to me always made sense when I was watching it, like, was there some parts of the Borg collective that they couldn't ever remove? Because it didn't ever make sense that Beverly could just remove all this stuff, especially when Seven of Nine couldn't have her stuff removed. And it's like, regardless of how long you've been in the Borg collective, these should be major, massive changes that impact you internally and what you have inside. And so what we get to see is one of my favorite parts of this film is the combat. It just alone is so cool because we get to see just a combat against the Borg cube, and the Borg cube looks amazing. And then a Borg sphere obviously escapes and goes back through time and assimilates Earth in the past. But we get to see the Enterprise E being awesome. We get to see this picture up in the top left is just kind of a summary of the ships that we get to see clearly in this battle. We get to see the Sovereign class, the Enterprise E. We get to see the Defiant, and we get to see Saber classes. I love those little things. We get to see a Steam Runner, several of them, I believe. Neat little ship, very interesting design. It's like their warp nacelles are just built into the saucer as well as part of it, which is really interesting. The Norway class up top of the Sovereign, very awesome, and one of my favorite ships of Star Trek this era is the Akira up in the top left. So beautiful. And you see actually it from the back down in the picture fighting the Borg. We do see like an old Miranda and stuff in that picture as well. But these new ships just, they feel new for Starfleet, but also I think because of the Akira, the top left ship up there in that picture, still makes this all feel like this is still the Federation. They're just trying to make smaller, more offensive ships for things like this that can be quickly deployed and fight against something like this, right? Obviously, we saw in the other picture up in the top right is a Nebula, so older ships as well, but it just makes Starfleet feel like it's evolving in a good way and trying to address issues that the Sovereign class, while smaller than the Galaxy because it's not as tall, is a much more modern vessel, but it's also a lot bigger than these other ships. But the Akira of these is more capable of other things than just combat, because it's not just designed for that, but it has a heavy focus because it also just has a bigger area for people to live on with the saucer. Whereas, the Defiant's pretty small and it's overpowered for what it is, but it's effective. And yeah, just very cool. And I love the design of the saber. Like, what if we just took half of a saucer and have an engineering section in the back and then just attach the nacelles to the saucer itself? I love the concept there. And it just, we're getting away from some of the saucer designs too, with the Steam Runner and the Norway, and obviously Defiant, but it gives us this idea of like also the Prometheus that was before this era, if memory serves. Is it? Huh, I have to think about that. Have to go look that up. Can't remember. Let me know in the comments below. I'm sure somebody knows. Like, the Prometheus shows up after this in Voyager, because I don't remember the timeline off the top of my head on when those ships were shown. But this just is amazing to me, these ships, and seeing them in action. And the Akira is seen a lot in DS9, and it's a beautiful ship. And then it became the design that they based the Enterprise and X-01 around, and that's why it looks so similar. So what we see though too is the Enterprise crew stops the Borg in the past because they get caught in the temporal wake, so they don't have history change and they disappear. They go back, they stop the Borg, they think, and go down to make sure that Zefram Cochrane can still do his first warp flight, because the Borg not only would assimilate them in the past, but also stop this warp flight. So then Earth isn't noticed, first contact doesn't happen, and they change everything for humanity. Humanity is left alone. And so they just assimilate it, and nobody ever knows until it's far too late. And so we get several characters here. We have Zefram Cochrane up on the top right. We will see later the Phoenix and its beautifulness. Just crazy awesome. Like, it's the perfect concept of what if we took a rocket and then added warp engines to it. Fantastic. This is what you want right here. And we also have Zefram Cochrane's, I guess, assistant. Man, what is her name? I want to say Ellie. That doesn't sound right, but I really enjoy her the whole film. She's such a fascinating character, because Zefram is dealing with his whole being worshipped, being the hero, and he's not. He's a drunk that's just going, man, I want to make money, and I'm smart too. And what is her name? My gosh, I can't remember. Oh, that's going to bother me. And the assistant that goes up to the ship and gets woken up inside of the Enterprise, and she's not supposed to, but the Borg that's discovered are on the Enterprise. They haven't left it alone. It is bad. And she continues to go around with several people, and then Picard later. And it's like watching this film, and you have somebody that is going through the same issues and concepts as you, as the audience, are as well, that she's looking at all this too. She's struggling with it. And I appreciate it's like the audience's eyes in the movie. And I appreciate that so much. I think that really adds a lot to the film. And man, what a good thing. Lily, not Ellie, Lily Sloan. There we go. Lily Sloan. I really enjoyed her. She was a great part for Picard to really wrestle with. And I love also the scene where Picard and Data are just having this conversation about just touching a thing to connect yourself to it. And Data just doesn't understand it in the same way as Picard does. And I love that Data so often just looks at Picard as his father figure. So cool. We also get to see several new things here. The Borg are here, and they are just more horrific than we've really truly seen, because they wanted them to look grotesque, and they really took it up a level. And I remember Voyager, they look good, but man, like, good gracious. Wow, what a thing here. And we can introduce the concept of the Borg Queen. So I guess first contact, would have had to happen first. So Prometheus wouldn't have been a thing yet, unless that happened to have that first episode. But really neat here. Really amazing. And I will say, though, does it mess with the Borg concept? Well, yeah, because it seemed almost like the Borg was a computer program that was running everything. And now, I think behind the scenes, we kind of go, well, the Borg assimilated someone and realized that as a living being, they're a perfect being to use as the lead to make all the voices more focused, maybe, but it does. It changes the Borg, and something about the faceless concept of the Borg was more interesting. That being said, the Borg Queen is creepy because of this introduction. I mean, when you have your villain floating down with tubes carrying her down, piping, carrying her down, and her spine just wiggling until she's put into the rest of her body, I'm impressed and dismayed all at the same time. It really makes the Borg very, very insane, and we also get to see them assimilate in a very fast and efficient way. I love also in this film that Lily and Picard are really arguing as Lily's trying to help him understand that he's getting distracted, where people say, oh, Picard's not himself. Well, it makes sense in this film that he's locked back into his being captured, that syndrome of just anger and hurt and pain from being abused and taken advantage of. He is not in a good headspace, and he's struggling with it, and he needs somebody else to help him see the perspective. And it's nice to have somebody other than just the lead Enterprise crew talk to the captain, because usually that's what would happen in an episode. Here it's a person that's just here for the film, and she's great for it. One of the great scenes in this film too is when they find out that the Borg are going to try to send a message to the deflector dish, and Commander, what is he, Lieutenant Hawk, I believe, played by Neil McDowell. He's just, I like that actor anyway, but man, in this film, he is fantastic. And you can just tell, like, you're kind of like the red shirt that's going to die, but they want us to have you right there as though you are a main cast character. And I kind of wish he would have been, just kept going. But this was a great, great scene, very quiet and creepy. And Worf has an epic thing of cutting a Borg, whereas unfortunately, a Lieutenant Hawk does not make it, and the nanites get him. It's pretty crazy. The next big focus that happens is Data is captured by the Borg and given real skin on part of his face and part of his arm. And Data at the end of the film, man, the Borg especially the Borg Queen, thinks that they have Data, and Data isn't actually following them, and breaks part of the warp core to release a gas that's toxic to biological stuff, and everybody on the first floor gets melted, and the Borg Queen gets included in that because of Data. And it's pretty intense, and we get to see a pretty epic thing of what's really underneath the Borg Queen's biologics. And that's why I'm also going, what is actually in Picard? But Data really in here is quite the interesting part of the film, because he can turn on and off his emotion chip in this film. And also, apparently the Borg figure out how to reactivate it too. And they're like, man, that's rough. But then we also have one other piece that Picard and Data have a conversation, and Data says that he was tempted for like a millisecond or nanosecond or something. And he's like, for an android, that's an eternity. And it just hits you like, whoa, this is a whole different level of who this being is. Pretty crazy stuff. The other piece too is the Borg Queen wants Picard to willingly give himself to them. Very strange, very weird, but it's almost like they assimilated him as Locutus back in TNG, and now they're like, man, we want you for some reason. It's a little bit weird. But anyway, lastly, here just to say, 1996 Paramount Pictures, cool, very neat. And this is, wow, 1996. That's crazy. This is the Vulcans. This is First Contact, and what a wonderful scene. And then Enterprise does a great homage to this and changes it to be the mirror universe, and it's so good. I love this scene. You're like, he's the most like perfect example of a Vulcan. I don't know why, but this guy, I don't know who this actor is, but man, he just nailed the idea of a Vulcan right there. Fantastic. We also get a fun little scene here as well in the film of, is it Ethan Phillips that plays Neelix? Absolutely love it. He's the guy that stops him at the bar in the holodeck thing, like as they're coming in, and he just gets a little scene as this holodeck character. It's great. It's just great. And also we get to see the EMH doctor, the version that they have on the Enterprise E. Just hilarious stuff. Good things there. Yeah, and also Reginald Barclay's in there, Dwight Schultz. But yeah, Star Trek First Contact is actually good. It's an amazing action film. It's an amazing sci-fi film. Is it the best example of the Borg? I think it throws the Borg a little bit into chaos as far as what they truly are, because it changes them pretty dramatically. But that being said, I think it also does make sense because the Borg assimilate things, that they evolve over time and they integrate things. What would happen to the Borg if they actually were able to assimilate species 8472? Makes you wonder, what would the Borg actually look like? I don't know. They'd be kind of scary, I would imagine. But yeah, this is quite the film. I enjoy it. I know it's got problems with the Borg stuff, and I get that, and I do. But I really want to hear from you all. Like, what do you think of First Contact? Is it good? Is it bad? What's the problems with it? What's not? Side note, one last little thing. That's one of my favorite scenes in the film. Whenever Picard throws his phaser or something, I think it's his phaser, at the wall where all the ships are behind glass, of just examples of starships that have carried the name Enterprise, if memory serves, and he breaks a lot of them, and just Lily goes, "You broke your little ships." It's just a great movie moment where Picard is wrestling with the PTSD of being captured and having no free will. And it's also, he's having to deal with some of this too because Lily doesn't understand. And I appreciate that whenever Picard just shoots one of the people that's already been infected by the Borganites and is transforming. And Lily's horrified, right? Because she doesn't understand what the Borg actually are. But it's got so many good, intense emotional moments. Riker and Troy as well, dealing with Cochrane. And so many of the others with Geordi also dealing with Cochrane. Cochrane is a great character too. That actor as well, another great win. Man, James Cromwell, so good for that. Alfred Woodward, who played Lily, fantastic. Alice Krige as the Borg Queen, wow. she knocks it out of the park for creepy epic. For, hey, you're going to introduce this moment, let's do it. Well, let me know in the comments below, what do you think about all this? I'd love to hear from you. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you haven't watched in a while, go watch Star Trek First Contact. It's still a delight. I've been Cody from the Keepers of Nerddom. Take care.